Hello. Now let's talk about exclusivity. I did mention this concept in my previous lecture on asymmetric partnership as something that is essential or necessary for the partnership success as a measure of the partner's dedication to their business. Now I would like to elaborate on this. Well, I have been a competition lawyer for quite a long time, for more than 10 years, and the concept of exclusivity and the related concept of non-compete come up very often in the context of commercial transactions, most particularly in the context of various kinds of joint ventures. To put it in very simple terms, the notion of exclusivity is basically the reverse side, negative side of the affirmative obligations of the partners with respect to their business. So whatever the partners are expected to do for their business, they are not expected to do for another business. And here lies the distinction between exclusivity and non-compete. It's a question of what other business is meant here. I will demonstrate this just in a couple of minutes on a series of slides, but before I get to this, I just want to dispel some possible confusion with the concept of full-time. Full-time is a notion relevant to employment, and it means that the employee should spend his entire working day, or whatever it is, 7 or 8 hours, working at his desk, and or whatever other workplace he has, and to be there all this time and fulfilling his or her obligations. It doesn't really work the same way in the context of a business, because partners in a business are not really expected to be sitting at their desk and doing their daily work. They're expected to go out and to develop business. So there is no way to monitor their performance on a daily basis in the same way as the performance of employees can be monitored. So what is expected of partners is that they dedicate their entire, active time, let's put it this way, not measurable in terms of the number of hours, working for their business, basically. Here we go. What are the partners expected to do for the business? What are their obligations and responsibilities? Well, they include the obligation to invest money to provide initial capital for the business if necessary. They should participate in the management of the business as partners. They're expected to work for the business on a daily basis, devoting their time, skills, and energy to the business in question. And finally, they're expected to assist the business in any way they can. And that means in particular that they should employ any business opportunity that comes their way for the benefit of the partnership or the business. Now, exclusivity, as I said, is the reverse side of the partner's affirmative obligation in respect of other businesses. So that means that the partners are not expected to invest their money. They're not expected to participate in the management. They are not expected to work for. And finally, they are expected not to assist. And here the question becomes what? Well, it can be any business other than the business in which they are partners, and that would be the substance of exclusivity. Or this can be not any business, but only businesses engaged in similar activity competing with the activity of the partnership. In that case, that would be called non-compete. On this slide, we'll see the three basic differences between exclusivity and non-compete. First, at the scope, exclusivity applies to any business other than the business in which we are. Non-compete only applies to competing businesses. The purpose of exclusivity is to ensure full 100% commitment of partners to the business, whereas the purpose of non-compete is basically to prevent the partners from using the partnerships or the business's resources, such as confidential, competitively sensitive information to undercut or damage the business by providing those resources or access to them to a competing business. They're also different in terms of time scope. The exclusivity applies only as long as the partner is a partner in the business for obvious reasons. While non-compete can also apply within a certain period of time after the partner quits the business, provided that the partnership or the business itself continues after that. So to demonstrate this graphically, you can see that the concept of exclusivity and non-compete are partially overlapping to some extent, but they're not identical. You might ask me, are there any downsides to the notion of exclusivity in a partnership? Well, I don't think so. Not for the partnership, perhaps for individual partners. Well, the only objection that I ever came across in real life was from my prospective partner in a partnership that never happened, and that was one of the reasons why it never happened. She said to me that, if I work for other businesses, it may actually benefit our partnership because I will learn something from them that we can use in our business too. Well, this kind of objection seems to me similar to the kind of argument that you may, using the analogy of marriage, you can hear from your future wife if she tells you before the wedding, darling, I hope you don't mind that I will sleep with other men from time to time because I can learn from them certain things and certain techniques that we can use for the benefit of our marriage. Well, the problem with that, obviously, that apart from the fact that you may not like the fact that your wife will be spending time with other men while she's in marriage, there is no guarantee that whatever she learns from them will benefit your marriage. It may be the case that she will end up just living with other men because they are so much better in what they do than you are. So I think in the business it's pretty much the same thing, that there is never a guarantee if a partner splits his or her time between two businesses that it will necessarily benefit one business rather than the other. It may be the other way, that whatever the partner learns in the business with you will actually be used for the benefit of another partnership or another business. So I don't think this is a compelling argument at all. Are there any other arguments against exclusivity? Well, I can't think of any, but if you can, please feel free to share them in the comments so I can respond. In any case, if your would-be partner is reluctant to agree to exclusivity, this is likely to be a red flag indicating that he or she is not serious enough about the partnership. Does it mean you shouldn't go into partnership with such a person? Well, that would be my recommendation, because I think exclusivity is really important to ensure full and ongoing commitment of the partners to the business. If despite that you are still prepared to go on for a partnership with a person without exclusivity, your next best bet would be non-compete. That would at least protect your business from the possibility of disclosure of competitively sensitive information to your competitors to compete with your business. What I said here about exclusivity and non-compete was a reference to the general business concepts. However, they can be legally effective only if framed as legal obligations set out in a contract. I said in my introductory video that I will not be offering legal advice, and what I said here should not be taken as such. To make sure that contractual obligations work and are possible, you should speak with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. If you do, you should ask him or her to tell you about the limitations on the enforceability of such obligations that may apply in your country. For example, it may be difficult to enforce exclusivity or non-compete in kind, even against your own partner, let alone against third parties. Moreover, if the respective obligations are framed too broadly, they may potentially be found unlawful if they are deemed to infringe some basic rights of individuals to exercise professional activity. Yet, whatever limits there may be on the enforcement, on legal enforcement of exclusivity and non-compete, it's still very important to agree on them expressly as a key business concept. If there is no agreement in principle, then the question of legal enforcement will not even arise. Finally, as a bonus for our subscribers, I offer a free template of an exclusivity non-compete clause that can be used by adapting it to your specific situation. If you're not yet subscribed, I invite you to do so now. It's entirely free and gives you access to other materials that you can find useful. See you in my next lecture.